Welcome to AfriGO Conversations. We are on the last month of the first half of 2023. And if you're like me, you must be wondering what happened to the year. Well, amidst all the changes, one thing remains constant. AfriGO Conversations will always come to you every third Friday of the month. Today, we are hosting a pastor all the way from Ghana, Pastor KK Baidoo. Pastor KK is a youth development consultant. He's a speaker, he's an author, and he's also a missionary. And in 2005, he started Teens Aloud Foundation, a foundation that helps young people pursue Jesus with passion. Pastor KK is going to talk to us about mobilizing Generation Z. We have young people in the church. We want them to be involved in missions. How do we get them interested and get them going? Welcome to the conversation, Pastor Baidoo.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Now, I know that you found a passion in eternal interest for youths everywhere. And then you started Teens Aloud. How did Teens Aloud start? And what motivated you to start Teens Aloud?
It was all this whole idea of reaching out to young people. And it was so intense. And I really loved it and I enjoyed it. I sought to try and do something to try and bring these young people, reach them a little bit more. I felt that I realized that when I got closer and reached out deeper into their lives, they changed. The transformation was clear. So I decided that, okay, I was going to bring in a system that will allow them to be able to. So those days when they completed high school, they waited a year before going to the university. So in 2005, the group that had just completed, I decided to, engage them, and the way to I needed to find a way to engage them, and the way to do that was to do a Christian magazine. So actually, Teens Aloud is the name of the Christian magazine that we decided to do. So the Christian magazine was really not the thing, but it was a way to bring them together, to be discipled. So we just used the catch, the Christian magazine as the catch. So as they were doing the Christian magazine, I gave them positions and titles. So I divided them into the marketing team, the production team, and then the promotions and events. And I'll give them these huge titles. And these are young people who are waiting for 1 year, have nothing doing, just watching the air for a whole year. So they were really passionate about it. And then so it was not really even something I set out to do. It was just something to engage them so that after a year, when it was time to go to the university, then they go and I'm done with them. But then these ones, after doing it and producing the magazine and selling them, will go to the university and they go like, hey, everyone is saying that they want to join. Can we take it into the universities? And I was like, hey, that's not my calling. I was called to reach teens and listen to the name, Teens Aloud. So I'm done with you guys when you are done. But I think by 2010, especially when I also got married to my wife, Valeria, she agreed with the young people that, no, we need to take it into the universities. And so we decided to just say that, okay, then the university people will be the team builders. People will be building the teenagers in the high schools and the junior high schools. So I don't know, I'll call it maybe just stumbling on it. And today it's in 11 countries and I'm actually very surprised. Yes.
Wow. Add me to the surprised people. It's in 11 countries. That is no mean feat. That is no mean feat. And congratulations for that. And also for obeying the call and just keeping at it. Thank you very much for that. Now, 6 years after you started a ministry, you added the Global Missions Ministry. Yeah. What is it about, and why was this an essential aspect of your discipleship and ministry?
Well, when we started doing the magazines, we had a challenge, which was to sell the magazines, and especially to sell it to the young people that we really wanted. And we started, that's what opened us into the high schools ministry that we started. So we're going to the senior high schools and we'll do a program. We realized that when we organized a program that involved the creative arts, right after the program, people really bought a lot of the magazines. So we would do that. And it was just so much. I mean, every time we went to any senior high school, the young people just were, it's like they were zero. By the time we left, they were in 200%. So it was just amazing. So by 2011, so still in this teen service, there was this Reverend minister. In those times, Gambia used to send the Gambia used to send their ministers, their Methodist ministers over to Ghana to be trained in the seminary called the Trinity Theological Seminary right here in Ghana. And when they were, then some of them would come and do practicals in our church. So this guy called Reverend Louis Prom would come and do his practicals in our church. And I will engage him. I just will ask him, because of my excitement way back in 2002, I would ask him about how, Gambia was. And as he told me the story about what was going on, and especially after one Reverend minister who had been there who eventually became the president of the Methodist Conference in Ghana called Reverend, now Bishop Awatri Pratt, he believed so much in young people. And surprisingly, he had been the one in 2005 who was in our church as the minister for our church. So he had done many things and started a youth camp in Gambia. So as he talked about it, it really excited me. So I just decided, okay, how about, we've done so much in Ghana and everything is always powerful as we go to the school. How about going to a camp and serving as camp ministers? So I spoke with this Reverend Minister, Reverend Louis Prom, and he was so excited. And then we decided on a date in July. And that time too, I was working with then the largest private media organization in Ghana, which is Multimedia Group Limited. And then the calling was just, bubbling in my heart. So I had to ask for do the thing that was very difficult for me, ask my boss, who was the CEO of the organization, the permission to do this full time. It wasn't easy for him because, I also loved him very much, but then I came on full time to allow me to go for the international missions. And then we just went to Gambia for 2 weeks. You won't believe this, Mercy. Just 2 weeks. And, you won't believe this, that the night where, we were traveling with Askai in Gambia, the Askai leaves at dawn. So your check-in starts around 2 a.m. And that was the last day of the camp. So the camp was still ongoing when we had to leave. And there were 18 of us who went for that first mission trip to Gambia. Initially, we had thought of going to Gambia to really affect the Muslims. But then when we went to realize that the mission had changed to become more of empowering the Christians there who are where they today reaching out to the Muslims already. Mm-hmm. And so at the camp found was very good for us. So, but when we were leaving, the entire camp felt like a funeral. Everyone was weeping that, hey, you had come here and you have just excited us so much, blessed us, made us know God a little bit more and deeper, and you are leaving. You will not believe this. I mean, I was the only one with a dry eye. And then I saw one of the big guys there, very strong guy. When I saw him weeping, I couldn't control my eyes. And so we left there. When we sat on the bus on the way to the airport at that time of the night, around midnight, everyone was out, everyone was weeping. And it left a lot in my mind that, well, perhaps maybe we do have a mission outside of Ghana.
I just hear the Lord working in mysterious ways in your life and in your ministry and just guiding you from one thing to the next. Now, you create opportunities for young people to participate in local and international missions. Now, what's the greatest lesson you have learned while doing this?
I think young people, the young people love adventure. I think I have a whole teaching on adventure. I run courses for churches that you want to plug young people into adventure. And when it comes to missions, there's a lot to experiment for young people, because young people have the energy and are willing to try new things. The whole idea of telling somebody about Christ is adventure. When a young person does that, the fire in their eyes is nothing, can never be compared. So you want to plug young people into, I just saw it each time I went to, because then as we started going for these high schools, I would divide everybody that, hey, we are going as a group to do more like a crusade type of thing, but everybody must talk to somebody, including those who even play the instruments. Mm-hmm. Nobody is going and coming back. So I pair them into groups, and then when you are done, we all debrief and everybody must report how. And those times were exciting times. Those are always exciting times to hear the reports of how people share with people, and how the young people open up, because many young people don't have. And one of the things I insist on is the relevance, answering the relevant questions of young people, because we live in a day where the young people, if it's not relevant, they can, because now we live in a generation of options. So young people can, if it's not relevant, they can throw it away. So you can see that, you know, the adventure part of it, and then the local missions we travel, you know, travel is very powerful. You know, many companies survive just on traveling, getting people to see places. So you tie the beauty of travel, the beauty and the adventure of telling people about Christ, you have a serious thing that young people will be attracted to. And when they do it, and one of them goes to experience, they come and tell their friends, and they all go. And before they realize, the process of the entire thing is also changing them and making them love God more. You can't have anything more than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Adventure and travel sounds very interesting, even to me.
Yeah.
It's a good way to actually get the young people involved. Now,
Yeah.
in what practical ways do you get young people to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ cross-culturally? Now, there's a young man, he's here, you've told him, go. Where do they start when they go?
Yeah, well, so when they go, we have, for every mission team that we send out on short-term missions, we tell them to do, so they always have to go, every mission, whether short-term, the short-term teams are the ones I'm talking about it, because the long-term ones, eventually when they get called, then we push them to the country to stay there for a longer time. So, but for the short-term missions, we need to do the gathering, and the gathering must then take them to a camp. So every short-term missions team must go gather young people and take them to a camp, because we see that camps are the most transformative things that can really help instill some of the values that we intend to instill about Christ on them. So that so when they go into the countries, they will go, because they are looking for young people. So the best place to go is the high schools. So the high schools, they would ask for permission to reach out to the high schools, and then they go. But when they go there, one of their major ways to catch the young ones is through the creative arts, dancing, singing, poetry, writing, anything that explores. So you see the original vision of Teen Salad, which was to come together to do a magazine, has never been lost, because we don't use the normal approach to just say, come to Christ. It's more like, oh, okay, so we explore, we get you to get to a place where you get to discover that you are gifted. And when you are gifted, you look for the gift giver. So that has been one of the important ways. So when they go to the high schools, do this, reach out, and then when they finish, they will share a very relevant word that answers a question for a young person. So after they do that, then they would start asking them for more, for maybe, okay, so if you're in your high school, you live in this community, we're going to have a program here, this and so date. And then we do what we call the Love Fellowship. And that Love Fellowship brings the young people from that particular community where they can meet them regularly. So if the team is there for 2 months, they can get to meet them for about 8 times. Then after about 3 or 4 times, they start announcing the camp. And then they go gather them. If there are different teams in different places, they will go rent a place for a camp and then take them to a camp, and there cut them out of every other distraction and be with them for, like, say, 2 or 3 days or 4 days, depending on the time they have, and then release them to go back into their schools and become ambassadors of what they have just received. Yeah.
Wow, that is excellent. And I know you've mentioned adventure and travel, and we know that young people are a dynamic lot. How would you capture the interest and the movement of young people in this postmodern era? What more can one do who is involved in youth to capture their interest and keep it? Because they also get bored very fast. So you don't want to take them somewhere and then, the interest is gone. How would you capture it and keep it?
Jesus is interesting. Jesus is very interesting. And I think that, I said I've been telling churches, and even yesterday I had 2 meetings with 2 different pastors who were expressing, how their young people are not seeming to be responsive. And I said that the word for young people this day is relevance. Just that one word, relevance, is this thing. and I was telling one of the pastors that in their generation, the adults could exude, could pump fear down the young people. The young people would, out of respect, respond. But that generation, that thing is gone. Now because it was like that because adults held all the information and held all the answers. And so we revered them. Now the young people will teach you what you don't know.
That is very true.
Yeah, so you would need to now, but then it's also a generation where the young people need more answers than anything else because they are finding things they don't have answers to. So to engage, and depression is on the high, sadness amongst young people, panic attacks, anxiety. They are all things that many young people, plus the emptiness that a lot of them feel. These are answers that the Bible has and will continue to have. And so for some of these young people, you need to come at them with relevance. And especially with with the sexual, things that questions that young people have, relationships, how they can even have, enduring relationships, have love without strings attached. All these are very important solutions. So when you come at young people with these solutions, then what happens is that they start to buy that in. And when they buy that in, they start realizing that, oh, so that's what actually will capture their interest and pick it. And because then they are seeing relevance and they see that, oh, they have a before and after story. So then it never gets boring because then they now, and especially when right after they get all these solutions, you plug them directly into sharing it with other young people. So then there's a continuum and they never end. So when they see that they are growing as leaders, and then now they can reach out to more and more young people, and it becomes an everlasting pursuit of their own life. So it's exciting enough to even get to know that your problems are being solved, and even much more that you can solve the problem of other young people. It's just amazing.
What is a young person's greatest hindrance in the involvement in missions?
I think it's the parents. We live in an environment now called there's a very big challenge amongst us now, which is called the academic parenting system, where many parents have you'll be surprised. And this will even come from children whose parents are pastors, whose children who don't want their children to even be involved in any sort of missions. Like it's not part of the thing at all.
Yeah.
I believe that every young person, if you plug them right, they will be able to love missions. But I think parents, oh my God, Father, help us. If only if many parents can get up. But you see, I can't blame in Africa, hunger is, and many parents want to get their young people to get academically sound and get something they can depend on so that they don't become burdens on them in their old age or something of that sort. So, and even amongst the junior high schools, the grade 7 to, and all of those people. Now in Ghana, these young people go to school around 5 a.m. They are gone and they are back home around 8 p.m. Now, it's terrible. It's terrible. I'm telling you, you want to engage these young people to get to know about the things of God. And this is one of the greatest impediments. Parents would have nothing. I ask the average young person, do your parents ask you about your quiet time? It's no, but they will ask them about their academic reports. And so many parents don't care at all about their spiritual development of their young people. Once the child is making the grades, it's enough for them. And so if you ask me what is one of the greatest hindrances, then because, some of these young people are even struggling with many things that even when they are plugged into missions, that could really help them to solve some of these challenges and also solve that of other young people. But parents will always be in the way. And I think it will need some more of education to bring people to that place where they can be able to, parents to allow the young people and to do that. Then I would say finances comes close second. But I have seen that when the older ones are on board, they have the money. we can raise it, and and as we did, I mean, every year we get the young people to raise the funds and go. When the adults are on board, and sometimes we will go to some people to go like, hey, are you done reading your books? Why would you want to go to another country to go and evangelize? It feels like it's something very frivolous, but I think that when the parents, are on board, it really is a beautiful thing, I must say.
That's a very sad hindrance. And I think on behalf of all parents, I should be saying that I really am very sorry. And it's something that as a parent, I need to also watch out for. And also for the other parents, as you get involved and invested in your child's academic prowess, can you also find out how far they are in the search for the Lord and for the involvement in the Great Commission? What advice did you have for the African Church today to get youth in sustainably invested?
Oh, Father, help me with this one. Well, I don't know. I think the church sits on a gold mine. The gold mine, which is young people. And I think if the only thing that is stopping the church is, I don't even know, I'll call it, I don't know. I think it's just old principles or they're just, I don't know. Because you see, I keep telling the churches as I get the opportunity to encounter with them that Teens Aloud has been built. I mean, my wife and I are the oldest people in Teens Aloud. Teens Aloud has been built by these young people. I believe so much in young people's power. And if you see any church that is expanding rapidly, these are churches that are harvesting the energies of the young people. Young people are impressionable. They are willing to take the risk. They want to do it, and they want to do that venture. You see, so churches are just, it's a gold mine. So all you need to do is just dig. You don't even have to do much. Just empower the young people, and you, the adults, your duty is to just guide them, and don't guide them with the top-down approach, because that top-down approach always scares the young people away. Come at the, if you like, at the peer level and understand. And I think the adults just need to empathize. And once you empathize, and sometimes I tell these churches that, well, and some of these decisions for young people are taken by the council. And most of these council people, their children are in their 30s or 40s, and you've lost touch with how these young people think. So I tell people that, well, instead of doing every decision by the church, by council, why don't you find a person? And usually in every church, you find that there's a pastor or somebody who the young people gravitate towards. Why don't you find that person as a liaison officer between these young people? And that person does the linkage. And of course, that person must also speak the language of the adults in a certain way. And then that person becomes a link between the young people, so that when the person goes to hear the young people with the adult mindset and tries to get them at a certain level, they can bring, because then that person comes to bring the information back to the council of the leaders of the church. And then because you have trusted that person, that person, although listens to the young people, does not think entirely like them, you'll be able to trust them to approve some of the things that including budgets and permissions for young people to reach out to some of these places, in missions and all of that. But because I've seen that this is the only way that can work. And, I have some of the people, young people living, because Teens Aloud is not a church. As they leave, they go into their churches and they struggle to get some of these things done. But when some of the churches start opening up, it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, one of my boys in the Presby Church recently took some of his the teenagers on a mission trip, and the church said they didn't have money. He said, "Oh, no. I've come from Teens and I've learned fundraising." So can you even believe this? That this guy led the team of young people to raise the funds, got about 10,000 cedis. The budget was about 7,000. They came back and brought change to add to the church's budget.
Impressive. That's very impressive.
Yeah, so it's just a gold mine. Just if the church, but I know that the church has a lot of inhibitions when they think about young people. They think about the excesses, the sexual excesses, and so they are very afraid. But I'm saying that the liaison officer thing, I think I found works out a little bit more and helps to bridge the gap between a group of old people who are totally afraid of young people and the young people who are excited and can't wait to do what God is, laying on their hearts. Yeah.
What's the one truth you wish all youth worldwide would know about their role and their involvement in missions? The one thing you look at young people and say, I wish you people knew this. You would set the world on fire.
I wish they knew that God is depending on them. I mean, the missions work is a very interesting one that I still don't get why God, who can do at the stroke of his finger, can just get everybody saved, but he still allows us to be partners, co-partners with him. I mean, I always think about Matthew 9:36, where Jesus is, crying about people without shepherds, and yet will say, pray to the Lord of the harvest to send laborers to the field. So you see God's heartbeat waiting for us to become, and I love how Jesus himself says that, pray to the Lord of the harvest and he will send laborers. And I keep telling people that when you pray that prayer, the first person who will be sent is you because God has no one, so, and I love it. I mean, just this past weekend, we went to the central region of Ghana and we were training our local missionaries, about 204 of them that will be sending out to 11 different destinations across Africa this year in September. And, I kept letting them know that God is looking out for them. And if only enough, the young people who get to pick up that passion are unstoppable. And so it's what I really would love young people to know, that God is counting on you. And he's counting on you not based on even your weaknesses. And I tell them some of the weaknesses that I have turned out to be the same launch pads that have, taken me into where the very particular area I am now by God's grace. So, and though they are weak, and many of the young people are weak, and especially when they towards the things of God, there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of condemnation. But I want to take this opportunity to tell every young person that no matter the condemnation and how you feel, you are still the one God wants to use. And God is counting on you, especially you. In fact, you. Yeah.
That is very good. Thank you very much, Pastor KK, all the way from Ghana. That's all the time we had for the conversation today. Thank you for sharing all that with us. We are very grateful.
Thank you too for the opportunity. I'm really honored to be on this platform. Thank you for AfriGO and the rest of the team.